Hey, everybody, I'm Dr. Seth, psychologist. Today, I'm going to answer a question that someone asked recently, and I realized this would be a question that would be really helpful, I think, for a lot of people to think about. And it's this one: why are some people so critical? What does it say about a person who is really critical? And let me just first explain sort of the genesis of where this came from. Not long ago, I was getting my hair cut. Actually, it was fairly recently. And yes, it is a pretty cool haircut, I think. So, not long ago, I was getting my hair cut. And the person that was cutting my hair, she was telling me about an interaction she had with someone. And basically, this person always makes kind of negative comments to them and kind of their dismissive comments, kind of critical comments, and kind of makes them feel bad and dismissed and actually makes them feel foolish. So, this other person in their life has a way of just making them feel like some of the things that bother them are kind of stupid, like they focus on the wrong things. And so, the person who was cutting my hair was telling me about this, and we were talking about why are critical people this way? Why do critical people do that? What does it say about them? Here's the most important point to understand about someone who is critical: people who have a need to dismiss others, put others down, make weird comments to them that leave the other person going, huh? Did they just put me down? Almost like you can't quite figure out if it was an insult. You are always in this position of trying to figure out what they were trying to say, what they were doing, what it meant. People who are critical like this and engage in this kind of behavior are usually not happy people. Happy people have no desire to make other people feel bad, to feel confused, to feel dismissed, to feel foolish, to feel ashamed. Happy people couldn't be bothered. Why? Because they're happy. They're happy. Happy people, as a rule, they tend to focus on things that matter. They tend to have positive relationships that are collaborative and not full of a lot of conflicts. Happy people tend to be focused on goals. Happy people tend to, wait for it, have a decent self esteem. They tend to feel good about themselves, so they don't need to puff themselves up and try to feel better by making other people feel bad. They don't have to put people down to try to feel better in that moment or superior. Happy people just want to be happy. And also, happy people like to be around other happy people. But here's the thing: when you take someone who's a critical person, not only are they usually not happy people, they tend to have low self esteem, or they have what I would call a conflicted self esteem. So maybe there are parts of themselves that they're like, so maybe there are parts of themselves that they do like, but other parts of themselves that secretly they don't like, or they feel like are unappealing or undesirable or bad, but they're in conflict with these two things. Unhappy, critical people, they won't tell people close to them about the parts of themselves they don't like. They can't admit it. They don't want to admit it. And you know what? They don't even admit it a lot of times to themselves. If you have someone who's a really critical person, a lot of times their defense mechanisms are so strong and so rigid that they can't even let themselves believe the truth. They are not honest with themselves most of the time, let alone with you. So, of course, they're not going to be able to admit or own up to the fact that they act critical sometimes because of parts of themselves that they are in a secret battle with. So, unhappy, critical people can really have a negative toll on the people around them. They can really make people feel bad. They can lower someone's self esteem. So, for the others around the person who is that critical, unhappy person, for the people around them, it can be really tough. It can be frustrating. It can also be kind of depressing and confusing. These people can have a really negative impact on your mood and also just on your belief in people and humanity. It can make you question things like, gosh, why are there some people like this in the world? Well, here's something, though, that's really important to remember. If you are someone who has a decent self esteem and you are a relatively happy person and you are not a critical person, not highly critical of yourself or others, well, if you take someone who is really critical, they sometimes can get triggered by how happy and how self compassionate you look. They can see you and that you seem to like yourself, and that actually provokes them. They don't like that. It actually makes them feel more insecure because they see you happy and they wonder, well, why don't I feel that way? You looking happy are a reminder, proof to them. Looking in the mirror, they can't not face the fact that they don't feel that way. They don't feel happy. They are self critical. They do sometimes even have self hate in them. A happy person can really trigger them. And so a lot of times critical people will do whatever they can to chip, chip away at the happy person and try to get them to feel the same negative, disliking, or even self hatred feelings that the critical person feels themselves. It's really important to be careful about your self esteem when you are around someone who has a really low self esteem and is really critical, because they can rub off on you if you're not careful. And you can also find yourself reacting negatively to them, snapping, losing your patience. A lot of times it's best to try to detach yourself from the situation and not respond, because sometimes to respond is simply going to start a conflict. And if this is someone who is a critical, unhappy person, you can guess a lot of times conflicts with them will lead to nothing positive. All right. So I hope this has gotten you thinking. I also hope I may have some other videos you may find helpful on my YouTube channel here, Dr. Seth, Psychologist. All right. Have a good one, everybody.